Roundtable meeting to order here at 6 p.m. in Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, a nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Awesome. Well, that's just someone's thing, not actual tornado outside.
You'll hear the sirens above.
All right. Roll. Sorry. Is there an invocation?
Yes, there is. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the gift of teamwork. As we come together to achieve a common goal, may we be unified in our thoughts and actions. Amen.
Roll call, please.
Alderperson Murphy.
Present.
Macias.
Present.
Razak.
Present.
Timian.
Present.
Finch.
Present.
McNeil.
Present.
Castro. Schmidt.
Present.
There's no remote electronic attendance necessary. Are there any questions on the agenda? Hearing none, is there public comment this evening?
Oh, I'm sorry, dude.
Okay, thank you. We will move right into our roundtable discussion. 8-point lead service line replacement plan. Mr. Lovey.
Good evening, Your Honor. Good evening, Council. I want to give fair warning that I cut my teeth for the city doing water main break repairs, so I detest cold weather. So in honor of this warm, humid repair, I've had David substitute the extended version of this. Do I just need this? Yeah, just okay. So we're going to talk tonight about the regulatory environment that we're working in relating to these bloodlines. We're going to talk about where we are now as Moline with regard to these requirements, and then we'll finish off with some options relating to how we want to proceed. And really, since there's no action that we're seeking here tonight, there'll be no vote or anything, but we are looking for some direction or some concurrence on the ideas that we are presenting. So this slide represents the map of Moline and where the lead lines exist within the city and within the boundaries. This is a map of the census tracts, not necessarily the alderperson wards. But you can see, I think there was the idea when I've met with some of you that the predominance of the lead lines exist over on the west side of town, and maybe especially the northwest side of town. But in reality, they're spread throughout, and so you'll see as we get into the presentation that we're seeking state revolving loan funds to fund this. We think that that's the best option. Before I get going too far, I want to let you know that I've brought with me a couple of experts, and that is Brown. He's our environmental compliance manager. He's the one on our team that knows the most about the lead and copper rule and the lead and copper rule revision, so that will be in place later on this year. And then also Levi Jackson. He's the one that dutifully worked last evening until midnight to work on the repair of the water main on 40th Street and 2nd Street.
That gives them a better view of the screen.
Thanks.
How's that? All right. This. Okay, thank you, Mayor. Thank you all alder persons for being here tonight to find out what this is all about. After all these years of it being installed into the strategic plan of the city going back to 2021, with one of the ideas that I threw out there for several months, because I realized we happen to have a lot of farmland south of the city and no growth. There's no growth. But we owned a lot of property, and the question is, well, what are we doing with it? Not much. So the question is what to do with that land. And this idea was, that's how we got birthed. And so let's go to the next slide. So why would we want to do something like this? What's the purpose? Well, first of all, we own this parcel of land, which you're going to see. And we've owned it since 2006, and it has been basically underutilized other than for agricultural production the entire time. That's what it's used for.
inverter and then is converted and goes into the service panel, and then there's some conversions that happen and go into the utility.
What are the benefits? New revenue source, right? We're always looking for alternate revenue sources, right? Always. Only so many of them out there, and municipalities have to struggle annually, with unfunded mandates from the state or unfunded federal mandates, right? Lead lines is a great example, but it's a health issue, right? So we're always looking for revenue. This is a revenue generator, as you're going to learn, right? We can use it to generate power on site. We can actually sell that power. We can actually reduce our costs with that power, and we're looking at a couple alternatives. And again, we're going to give some general guidance from council because we're at this level right now and we're drilling down. None of us are solar experts, right? But quickly we're becoming solar knowledgeable. That's the way to describe it. Every day, actually. So as we look at this, we're looking at tax levy reduction, spreading that savings across the entire city. So we generate, and as you're going to see, we generate about I think it was almost nearly $1 million a year in cost. We use about 13 kilovolts, what it is, and it costs us almost $1 million. Imagine if you didn't have to pay that money. It's $1 million savings, just like that. 13 kilovolts, as you're going to learn, is about a third of what this will generate. Right? So, enough on that. Creates jobs, obviously, it'll create jobs to not only build it, but it'll create jobs to manage it and operate it. So, and also, of course, you're going to see as we go through this, opens up other doors for economic development. Nobody around us is doing this. That's something. State solar, you want to go through this a little bit? By the way,
Just a little spotlight on some changes. I think significant to note is the 47% decrease in costs for implementing solar over the past 10 years. That's a very significant decrease in the upfront costs, making it more appealing and more able to utilize for municipalities like ours. Doesn't want to go that far, but if you see on the far graph on the bottom, on the right, on the top blue section, that is utility scale growth. And that's what we're looking at doing is a utility scale level solar development. So you can see a lot of growth in that blue section over the past 3 to 4 years.
And this is Illinois specific. So right now we're ranked 15th. It's amazing. We went from nothing to being ranked 15th. That's pretty impressive. Even the folks we spoke to on the phone today from Washington, D.C. know what's going on in Illinois when it comes to solar.
Illinois Climate Bank is putting a lot of effort and funding into clean energy in Illinois, which is, I think, coming under Illinois Finance Authority. It's a subsection of Illinois Finance.
Okay. So a couple different ways. We are looking at a direct ownership model right now. At least that's what we were thinking about from the get-go. That's still where we are today. But one of the things we're going to want to do, of course, is evaluate what is the best model for the city. Is it where we own it, we operate it, we sell that goods to the power company, we offset all of our costs, right?
And we get all the benefits.
And we get 100% of benefit, we get 100% of risk, we get 100% of the risk, whatever that risk is, we get it. Or you enter into public-private partnerships. There's companies out there all across the United States that actually partner with government agencies, whether it's school districts or local governments, and they go in and they create public-private partnerships. They share in the cost burden. We get a piece of the puzzle, but then they get their piece because they're heavily investing into it as well. Our investment, of course, initially is that underlying land is tremendous value. We paid about $1 million for that land. Just to get an idea, about $975. Long time ago.
2006.
Yeah. Okay. Potential funding sources. You want to talk about Inflation Reduction Act?
Okay, so up until actually this year, the tax credits that were available under the Inflation Reduction Act were not available to municipalities at all. Or nonprofits, only for private organizations. So now that that has changed, it's called direct pay, and that program is now, it's a straight up cash rebate on investment in clean energy. Right now it's ranging anywhere from 30 to 50% depending on certain criteria. As Tony mentioned about the census tracts, a similar kind of denotation from the federal government is to help. They have this Justice 40 initiative. So they're wanting 40% of all federal funds invested to go towards, low income and
household.
yeah. So depending on, our structure of the project, it could be up to 50. We're guessing a minimum of 30 though. No matter what we decide to do as far as funding, we should be able to get at least 30. So that's it's a special 990 form that's filed since governments don't pay taxes. It's a special form that you get, and it's a direct cash payment back on your investment. It's a very, very good incentive.
Very lucrative. Right now it's lucrative. We don't know what 25 and beyond will bring. We're sort of lay that on the table. That is a concern that's out there. What's going to happen with all these programs going into 25 and beyond. But for right now, these are the programs that are available. They will be around for a while.
It also said that there was possibly some bridge loans available coming this summer. Those have not been previously available before either, and that would kind of help the upfront capital investment costs to help get that financing up front.
That's great. Then we got the Build Illinois Bond Fund. That's what it is. Bond issuance through DCEO. Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. We have the National Clean Investment Fund through the EPA. The Building Resilient Infrastructure Communities BRIC grant through FEMA, and then the Illinois Climate Bank. As you recall, we recently adopted an ordinance relative to the climate bank. So there's a real opportunity here to tap a lot of different resources. Which ones we tap are really dependent upon which model we use. We know what we would like to know. We know the benefit of it, the potential benefit. The question is what scenario works best, and what is the city council want to really put this for its constituents, right? Who's going to benefit the most, right? Everybody needs to get some benefit. Okay. Short of all those funding programs, there's always going to be a gap, municipal bonds. Obviously, we have that capacity to do what we need to when we need to. It's unlimited because we are home rule. Council determines what is appropriate. The last time we issued bonds since I've been here, I believe, was the police pension obligation bonds, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Right, and that was a screaming success. We did really well in the bond market, and that's, as you know, from budget time. But you can see that's one option as well. That's just a point of reference for you, what we have out there. Anything else you want to add? Any questions on that at all? Okay. Right. Then upfront capital. That's okay. Then upfront capital provided by partners. But we're going to talk about something unique as well. And that's, go to the next slide, is looking at potential partners. Who else, if we're going to build something of this size, who else could benefit by its development and offset their cost as well, to bring down tax levies or to redistribute spending, hold tax levies in place? Because remember, we're competing not only with our neighbors here locally, but regionally, both in Illinois and across the river for growth. Not just Iowa you're competing with everybody around us. So, example, Moline Coal Valley School District. We had some just very general conversations with them. And school districts around the country are actually eligible for different programs as well. And they are pursuing these programs because they're looking for ways to bring their costs down. So as you take a look at it, I'm kind of squinting a little bit.
Right, I know, I can't.
I can see the 13.35 up in the right corner.
That's the city's use, 13.35 gigawatt hours annually based on 2023.
Okay, and then the school district down below.
9.20 for 2023.
So a total of 22.55
5.5.
gigawatt hours annually. 2 million and change. That's really what it is. It's 2 million and change. That leaves basically 9 gigawatt hours annually left available to even explore other alternatives. Have one of the more unique things. We can either keep it or we can spread it, right? Because remember, as you drop those tax levies and those property taxes fall, people have more money to spend on other things, right? Bottom line. Also makes living here more attractive, right? Might help induce development. So that's one of the things that's important. Metrolink is out there, major energy user probably. We haven't had a conversation with Jeff Nelson yet, but he would jump all over it if he could find a way to get rid of his energy bill, right? Electric buses, electric bills, not cheap. Plus International Airport, talk to Ben Leichner, we'll find out what Ben's thinking, if there's an interest from council. The Vibrant Arena or the Quad City Civic Center Authority, obviously that's a big building, costs a lot of money to run it. But looking for our taxing entities, and how we could partner with them and have a really truly unique funding, right? And it helps spread that cost to fill that gap. Because as you're gonna learn from Donald, payback is pretty quick. So, question.
Are those numbers based on all three sections being built out, or just
All three.
All three, okay.
All three.
The 31.2.
All three. Okay.
Do the power companies buy back some of that power as well?
Yes, they get it. Yeah. That's why we're meeting with Mid-American, as you're gonna see. We want to define that role in that relationship. We're trying to find out where they've done something similar to this, and they're saying it's proprietary. So we're gonna meet with them, and we're gonna dig a little bit deeper, and we're going to, we're gonna roll that onion back, we're appealing. We want to see where they're doing it, how they're doing it, and who they've done it, and maybe they're not. I don't know, but I'm guessing they represent a lot of territory in Iowa, so there's gotta be some farm fields out there with solar, not all wind. So basically, we're gonna meet with them on Friday, we're gonna get into a discussion about what you're looking at here, in terms of, they do play a crucial role, because how do we get that power off that line? They do play a role, so we'll talk to them as well. Next slide. Alternate land uses, and this really excites Dawn. I'm gonna let her try and, it excites the mayor. Yeah, this is really fun stuff now, because we talked about solar farm, but then we dug deep. Like I said, we're not experts, and then we got into what are known as agrivoltaics. So you end up with, your solar up above, and you end up with these things that Dawn can talk about. And this is very popular, by the way, in Europe. Extremely popular, and they are leading edge on this stuff.
It's still up and coming in the US, so it would be leading edge type of endeavor for sure. So here's some different ideas that we're kind of thinking about, discussing internally. Pollinator habitat, I'm a huge fan of pollinators personally, so I was excited, very excited. Actually, all of these are wonderful ways to use the land and, kind of maximize the use of farmland, right? You're getting this solar energy and you're able to do that, but also able to still utilize that farmland, and the pollinator habitat would really help soil health and restore the soil from many, many years of it being row cropped. That would, benefit future generations and obviously look pretty. The lavender farming is something that Bob has brought to our attention, which I've done some research now, and I feel like it is a viable option.
She pushed back. She goes, not just your money. I said, it's the money, it's money.
It seems
Lavender
like,
is
you know,
nice.
I personally do have some lavender in my yard. And I think, you know, in my research, it's kind of come up, you know, it is a great beginner kind of farming. It's very kind of easy to implement. It's a perennial crop, so you don't have to plant it every year. So, you know, he's selling me on it.
I got it going, it took a little doing, but yeah, I mean, this, a property like ours, just on an average production, on that much land, is probably anywhere from as little as $1 million to as much as $3 million or more in terms of value when you raise the lavender and you sell.
There's a very strong market for lavender,
Huge.
which is interesting and not difficult to kind of harvest it. It's seems like, you know, a viable opportunity to make some additional money. And really, you could honestly combine all three into the project. It is 100 acres. You know, the adding in, I mean, not in the same rows as combined, but you could have different sections almost, and having that kind of diversity on site would also help pollinators and just the animals to keep them diversified. So the third option, you know, I kind of came across in doing more research about on the agrivoltaics that, you know, different cities or in Europe, there's some great examples of using community agriculture, and there's some crops that grow wonderfully under the panels, and there's some research supporting that. Lettuces, broccoli, tomatoes, asparagus, raspberries. There's, as well as sheep seem to do well with solar panels. They're not aggressive and they can kind of graze the land. So a lot of options out there that I find extremely exciting. So we can go back here. I made some kind of pluses on each of them, but again, I think a combination could also be incorporated.
I mean, it almost becomes educational when you think about it. You know, when you think about our local schools, about, you know, local programs that are here. Think about what DEAR really is all about, feeding the world. I mean, that's their motto. They may take a great interest in this project, so you know, something like this is truly unique.
The Farm Bureau would as well. I mean, there's a lot of potential for a public-private partnership with farmers, small operating.
And there's a tremendous, as we've learned today in our conversations with the ICMA, which is the International City Management Association. I came across a webinar that we're both going to participate in, and found the person from ICMA actually on the panel. So we reached out to them, did a lot of research across the boards on services they provide. And they've been at this for 10 years with solar, and they've got all kinds of like technical assistance they can provide, which is good, and it's free. It's not going to replace what electrical engineers are doing. That's not at all what they do, but like the models and what works best, that kind of approach, they can do that. So we're going to look at that as well. Okay. We've got a $450,000 allocation from Greg Johnson's funds down in Springfield. That would be a DCEO grant. There's no match to that grant. It's in the budget. We know that. Just the same way the money is in the budget for tax, not tax, Vibrant Arena. And we just got to wait and see whether they issue capital bonds to make that happen. That's what we're waiting for. So we're pushing them all the time. But that would then allow us to actually launch this project and retain a consultant to work with us to do what is the high level design work that has to happen. What you're going to see now is going to be the preliminary work, but the real heavy lift comes next. So this kind of shows you where we're at. Don did some preliminary design work and came up with some costs associated with the project and project feasibility, and it was all done pro bono. Not bono. Thank you, Tara.
Thank you, Don.
George, thank you for that. And here we are. This is where we're at today. We're gonna kind of go through what the next steps are, and hopefully, if you're still interested in solar, we'll pursue this project to become solar residents. Right? That's our goal. So with that, I think that's our last slide. Yeah,
It is.
it's our last slide.
Right.
There you go. Thank you. And maybe introduce the whole team, right? That'll really met everybody.
This is Don, I'm gonna introduce you. This is Don Prieston with Terra Engineering, and then George and George.
Good evening, everybody. Madam Mayor, City Council, it's a pleasure to be here. It truly is. I just want to thank you for this opportunity to talk about this amazing transformative project. I'm here to expand upon what Bob and Dawn previously said about this Moline solar project. I'm Don, about myself, Don Prieston. I am the Director of Electrical Engineering. I've got 25 years plus of electrical engineering experience. Prior to that, I was in the nuclear Navy. I was a nuclear engineer on submarines, did that for 6 years. I'm licensed in 36 states, and my subject matter expertise is sustainable power solutions and low voltage power distribution. Terra, just a little bit about Terra. So Terra, we have we're a multidisciplinary engineering firm. We have 30 years of experience. We were founded back in 1992. We have 5 offices. Our headquarters is in Chicago. However, we do have a major office just down the road in Peoria. Our company is a certified woman-owned business enterprise, and we have greater than 100 employees. Our focus is on partnership and collaboration. So we wouldn't be just a vendor to Moline. We would be a partner and work with you as a partner. Our company has electrical engineering, site civil engineering, transportation engineering, structural, construction engineering, landscape architecture, water resources, and survey services as well. So all the disciplines that would be necessary for a solar farm. As far as total municipal usage is concerned, I'm going to back up a little bit. So back in February, our company had a meeting with Bob, and during that time, he informed us of the city's initiative to construct a solar farm on a really nice parcel of land. We told Bob that we can do a quick helioscope analysis to do a conceptual solar farm layout with preliminary yield and shading and financial analysis associated with that overall analysis. The property, I'm sorry, the property is actually located here at the northwest corner of 72nd Street and 100th Avenue, south of the Quad Cities International Airport. As previously discussed, it's on approximately 100 acres of land. So this property seems ideal for a solar farm like this, given the fact that the land use is fairly flat. It would require minimal grading, thus minimizing the cost for site work. Plus, it's fairly clear on the southern exposure, which is key for a solar farm project in the northern hemisphere. And it's close to overhead lines or power lines, so that's going to minimize the cost for utility tie-ins. For this project, we use Helioscope for the conceptual design of the solar farm. Helioscope is a user-friendly software which we use to lay out solar modules, provide us a yield and shading analysis, and provide us a better understanding of key financial metrics such as the upfront cost, payback, and future revenue generated through its end of life. The solar design features are listed here: 41,590 solar modules. That's about 575 watts per module. 189 inverters, equaling a total size of 23.5 megawatts DC. The annual production is 31.23 gigawatt hours. The modules will be mounted on fixed tilt racking facing due south on a 33-degree tilt. The modules will be stacked in a landscape orientation, 2 high on 5 or 2 by 5 on racks. There will be 10-foot rows, allocating space for maintenance vehicles to clean the modules on regular intervals. North-south, right down in that orange line, right down the solar farm, you'll see an access road for fire protection vehicles and utility interconnection equipment. And then we will specify American-made equipment to comply with the Buy American Act. Our generated layout is extremely efficient. Our calculated shading losses are less than 5%. The solar standard is less than 10%. The recommended ground coverage ratio is between 0.5 and 0.4 and 0.5. Ours is 0.43. And then plus the average total solar resource fraction is almost 96% out of a minimum recommended 75%. So it's an extremely efficient layout. I will note that the standard end of life is listed at 25 years. However, like Bob said, we can extend that. The solar modules are actually listed at 30 years, and it's quite common that actually be operated up to 40 years. So resulting in obviously higher revenue. I'm going to back up just a couple slides here. So total municipal usage. Dawn Temple, she worked with the finance department to compile a list of municipal loads, including the municipal buildings, including its city hall, fire stations, police stations, etc., parks and utilities, and then the traffic lights and signals. The overall municipal usage is combined 13.35 gigawatt hours. Also, as Dawn included earlier, the school districts equate to about 9.2 gigawatt hours. So next, I would like to discuss the preliminary financial analysis. According to Helioscope, the upfront system cost will be approximately $64 million, which falls in line with the industry standard of $2.50 to $3.15 per watt. It is calculated in a 8.8 year payback, considering modest funding. However, the overall cumulative cash flow at the end of life is greater than $111 million. If we are successful in achieving full potential funding that's available, the payback period will likely go down, and the cumulative costs will actually go up higher than what's shown there. There are approximately $25 million or more available funding through the award of state and federal grants and rebates. And some of those available financial incentives were previously discussed. Some other ones are listed here. The Illinois Solar for All, Justice 40, Siege of Community Solar Sovereignty Grants, Equitable Energy Futures Grant, IRA tax credits, and then Building Resilient Infrastructure and Community Grants. Some potential community benefits. So there are many potential benefits which can result in the construction of the solar farm. Some of those benefits include lower utility costs for municipal buildings. Money saved on utility costs can be redirected to benefit the overall community. Potential lower taxes for constituents due to lower municipal expenditures. Population growth. Solar generation surplus can be offered to lower residents through community solar subscriptions. We may be able to offer surplus benefits to the school districts, which again they use about 9.2 gigawatt hours, and other key community transit authorities. As discussed, Metrolink and the local airport. We can reduce the overall carbon footprint, and then additional revenue generation opportunities like the lavender production farms in between the solar rows. So what's next? So if the city council is interested in moving forward, Terra can send a proposal for detailed construction design, solar analysis, and application assistance. Once the city approves our proposal and sends us a contract, we will commence the detailed construction design and financial analysis to support the application process as early as May. We will help, assist in the utility coordination. Utility coordination is a little bit of a wild card for all of these projects, and we assist in that process. We will provide bid and construction documentation. If the city prefers, we can also provide intermittent review cycles, before we get to the full bid and construction documents. When the bid documents are ready, the city can advertise the project to contractors for bidding. It is key for these solar farm projects that the contractors are NAVSEP certified, and that's one. The city will award to the winning contractor, and the solar farm is constructed. It is recommended that the city continues to engage with Terra Engineering for construction administration and observation services during the construction, so that we can answer any questions generated by the contractors, review vendor drawings, and observe site visits to ensure compliance with the contract documents. After the solar farm is constructed, the contractors, vendors, engineers, city, utility, and utility will commission the solar farm, which is estimated to take place in 2025. I will also say that our staff, although I'm not a grant and rebate expert, our staff does have experts available to assist Dawn and the staff here for that process. It is a pretty detailed process that takes a lot of time, and we're available to assist on that as well. So, with that being said, any questions?
Quite a few. The diminished energy returns, just because panels lose efficiency over time. Is this also factoring in damage panels, needs for replacement? We have tornadoes.
Yeah, sure.
That's going to be a problem. Is there insurance that goes along with that? Or this, if you could take out half of the array, with the right storm curve. So, is this factored into either the models, or do we have contingencies? Last question. This would require city workers to maintain it. Is that correct? And what's the budget for that?
You guys can answer, but I believe the idea was we hadn't chosen how much was municipal owned or operated.
Right.
Yeah.
Those questions relate to that analysis.
Okay.
Would we want to be the owner, operator, or public-private partners with a private company? I'm just not going to advertise for anybody, but they're all over. I've talked to at least one or two of them already. They come in, they build it on your land, and you get a piece of it. They take the lion's share. Obviously, they take the lion's share because they're taking enough risk. So, and there would be insurance. It's like, hey, we own. And
answer your first question, the diminishing returns and the very detailed financial analysis is not in this model. We have additional software that does model that out, but it's actually going to be necessary for some of the funding applications to provide a lot of that. This was a very quick scope analysis that just gives us an idea of a financial.
So the kilowatt hours going down every year isn't due to diminished production?
Yeah, there will be, over time, there will be some modules that fail. There will be some inverters that will need to be replaced. There's going to be some soiling that takes place. There's going to be,
the utility. It's like water and wastewater. So we have to invest in anything as well as keep the benefits up. What did we estimate the annual? Was it about 4.5?
4.4 million in annual revenue.
Replaces ARPA dollars, folks, which are going to be gone December of 25. And then you're not gonna get road improvements.
That's.
Oh, no, the sidewalks, sewers. I mean, it could help pay for the outlet. All kind of uses for this dollar. It's limitless. And I will say this, there's really no one size fits all there. When we had our conversation with the director of the Clean Energy Programs at ICMA in Washington, D.C. And we asked a lot of the questions you were asking and got the same kind of answers. It's all over the place. Everybody's kind of like exploring the different alternatives. This new thing, this direct pay program, that's what the webinar is about, because local governments, county governments, school districts couldn't do that before, but now we have the ability to do it. So nobody, we're braving new territory is the best way to describe it. How she described it to us. So we need to have some guidance.
Gotcha.
My question was the same about employees. Let's see, that's Mr. Williams.
They would all be union if they were city employees.
Sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. Well, one question, and then a comment. What kind of regulatory, or I guess pushback have you gotten from the energy industry? Because obviously this could affect, or are they seeing it as an opportunity for them to buy energy without them having to?
It's a huge opportunity for them. All the major utilities, I've attended seminars with Ameren and ComEd. They're embracing this new, sustainable power. They really are. They know that, there's a heavy push to decommission the CFGs and, the coal plants, and they have to supplement that somehow. So they see this as an opportunity. This and wind farms.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. And then just my comment, when we first were putting together the Grand Master Plan, I remember, and it was relatively new, solar, just to save on our buildings, put them on the rooftops.
Yep.
So just the fact that, you've looked into this and where we're at with this, to me, and I'm not the most environmental guy in the world, but this excites me on that aspect. I love the fact that even having flowers or vegetation there is another nice piece. And if we don't have a city flower, it'd be lavender.
Like tulips in the
Yeah, I know.
Thank you.
So I'm very much supportive of us looking into this and recognizing this is a little bit of a new piece or an opportunity. That said, I want to poke the bear on this a little bit. How is this any different than if the city just decided to open a business?
Citizen sell water, don't we? I think
As a
design and all that.
self-sustaining public service, to be sure, but
Yeah,
I mean, I know that we say we're going to produce enough energy to cover our own uses, but that's a shell game. We are literally producing the energy that gets put into the utility, and then they offset it in how it gets reported, but we're not physically providing our own energy the way we provide it. We're not pushing that energy out to the municipal buildings. We're pushing it into the grid.
correct. We're pushing it into the grid, which is what we keep done. Unless you own your own electric utility company, some municipalities have historically had their own utility. But this is really no different than that, but it's even solar.
But it still is essentially, and I'm not saying I'm opposed to this, by the way, it's as it lays out, it is us opening a business. Granted, one that is related to a utility, and utilities are highly regulated, so even though they're businesses, I guess that's how it's different.
Yeah.
It's part of a highly regulated industry that has been, you made a good point about having been historically public as well.
I would envision that if we were to go forward with this project, that the solar utility itself would be a part of our utility. The employees who would work out there, which is basically it's low-level maintenance, really. It's not like daily maintenance. Yeah, but any of the cleaning of the panels themselves, there's equipment for that. It's all automated. And you share with us that audit machine, whatever it's called. quite interesting. It's like a car wash on an arm, and kind of washes the panels as you drive past them. But I would envision it as part of our utility department, utility, and, sure, for how many employees we would need. We have got to have level of analysis.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to jump in and say as a caution to this council to think too far down the road. This is the meeting that tells us this is really possible here on this piece of land, and there's a lot more information that has to be gathered and has to be decided upon, especially given the multiple ways we could form this. Public-private partnerships are always, well, I should be careful with what I use, but generally a really great way to go. I'm not saying I'm anti-municipal utilities. Obviously, we have a great track record with our water provision, et cetera. But I think we can't get too far down the road with this at this time. I wanted to add that I think it is time for this part of the state to have something like this. If you look at that map Dawn put up with the Illinois, the locations, it's way in the beginning of her presentation. There's nothing but something in maybe Savannah or Galena. Like, that's ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. And if we have the ability to do this and to make it balance out on the balance sheets and really impact our residents and our bottom line, then I don't know why we wouldn't do it.
Well, maybe even the region too, right? Like bringing in that support, not just for Moline, but, you know, then those resources start coming in with the region and maybe, you know, maybe the Iowa, maybe that North, you know, thinks it's a great idea, or maybe Coal Valley thinks it's a great idea.
But in this case, we can make a very good case for the state of Illinois investing in us because they're doing it every place else. And I've been having these conversations with the CEO at multiple levels about what do you want to do up here? It seems like the right app.
So you broke this into 3 sections. I'm wondering if that was intentional because it sounds like we're proposing to do all at once because of the uncertainty of 2025.
Future funding.
So is that accurate?
So Helioscope, the software that we use, it does have design limitations. You can design a 100 megawatt solar farm. Can't produce the reports using. So we had to break that into 3 separate segments, only for the reporting portion of this exercise. For the more detailed analysis, we also use a software called PVSys, which provides that more detailed analysis. But Helioscope is a better software that actually lay out the modules and provide that shading analysis so the financial analysis would be something that would be forthcoming.
And that cash flow, the first year is that anticipated 30%. You think it appears because we go from 0 or negative cash flow to 6 million.
Right, that's right.
So that's
So you saw that spike. That's anticipated. That's modest funding, right? That was just modest funding. There's an opportunity to actually do greater funding and more or less opportunity.
That reduces the payback period. I mean, if you go 25%, which is what's shown, get up to 50, then 4.4 years is some factor of 4 in order to. So, I mean, the payback, return on investment.
So I understand that we don't know yet what the municipal model looks like, but who would be another big player? Is it universities that have solar farms that we could look to just to as an example?
So locally, I'm not sure what is being done here locally.
I don't think anything, but maybe
Well,
across the
I
state.
know of,
There's
there's a 1,300 acre solar farm being put in by Cordova. That just was approved by the county, and so I'm trying to find out more information about
I
that.
guess that's some part of the state that's
They're
not on
not
this.
getting They don't give us the money.
It just got approved, so, I am gonna try to see if I can find out more about that.
Universities are a prime example of large entities that are installing solar farms all across the nation.
My own institution is trying to put it on the buildings to help decrease costs. I mean, new revenue is new revenue, and with this many benefits, I don't know why we would go full steam ahead, but. that's up to
Even
you
large
guys.
industrials, large industrials are, you know, they've got a heavy drive for, you know, net zero initiatives by 2050, you know, so, you know, even the industrials are done a little bit.
He's got examples of it in the dealership here in town.
Airport already has.
Airports had solar for years. Yeah, when you have like, it doesn't interfere with airports as well, which is really important. Yeah, TIF 7, I mean, it's not going to develop, well, I tell you what, this would be a great use for that land. And I'm not running East Moline, but you got 1,000 acres in Brooklyn where they can't put solar out there. But it's a real opportunity for them as well. They should use the money.
So I do think, I want to get into the feasibility study, understand that. I mean, this is reporting about, you know, over 25 years, $47 million coming back. Obviously, some of that's going to go on other expenses and running. I think there's going to be a significant portion of that left. You know, my inclination, given all of that, is, and in part reflecting on, you know, in that business piece, it's such a highly regulated state entity, even though it's been run as a business, it really isn't. Which makes it safer for us to go into, and what a lot of people probably do, but my inclination is to say we go in on our own. I understand the value of going in with the other organizations as far as how that splits, and to some of the other government entities, I hesitate to go to a private piece of that puzzle. I mean, depending on what the deal is and what the feasibility piece comes back with, I just think we're doing it to create that long-term benefit back. Right? This is one of those places where, with some investment and confirming through the feasibility study, a low risk, it just can help us to establish that long-term opportunity. I think that's where that is where my preference would be, depending, of course, on the feasibility and how that plays out.
The other part of that is clearly, you know, being good partners is wonderful, the ways we can be at that. But if we're looking at a fast timeline, because we want to take advantage of what is out there, then it's probably better to just put it together as if we are the only entity, and then go back and establish the partnerships.
And I like the comment about it. I mean, running it that same sort of way, because it would have to be in some way.
I was told that he'd be a
You
solar
guys
star.
taking notes over there?
Did I ever sign up to you be the solar star? What's the problem?
Yeah, I just wanted to also point out, in the islands like Puerto Rico and Hawaii, that get hurricanes, they're really investing in this through individuals, through the credit union world. They're really doing a lot of work working with individuals so they can have solar on their rooftop, because regularly they get their grids disrupted, and so and in some places the wind is not enough. They need the sun, so yeah, it's all over the world that they're looking at this, and I'm glad that you showed samples from Europe too. We're not just looking here in the States, but how can we stand out and really maximize? I like the idea of maximizing as much as possible.
Yeah, because you can see the land just sit there like fallow. Yeah. When we can just simply elevate these things to a greater height, be able to do something that makes sense. Drive around and see them. That's going to be doing anything. Look at what they're doing in Europe, and everybody's out there cultivating underneath. You know, if they have a lot less land.
I did have one question. The fixed version, it would increase cost to have the movable stuff.
That's right. Yeah, so there are the solar trackers that track the position of the sun's position in the sky. Those do add substantial cost. They're nice. They're very nice. But they do have
We just wanted to make sure there was American as opposed to Chinese or Southeast Asian.
They do increase the overall efficiency of the production.
What is the current income coming from that property?
Whatever we get in terms of, I don't know, Lori, do you know? I mean, it's like a farm lease, very little, nothing.
It's much smaller compared to what we're.
I'm going to definitely prepare a report.
Since 2006.
Yeah. It was like, not just a yearly number, because I'm sure it's way.
Security as a purchase.
If
What
we're
do you
talking
think it
about
is?
growing things underneath the panel, I assume that these are semi-translucent in nature to allow sunlight to go through. Okay, so tomatoes wouldn't work under.
Well, the spacing of the rows is predetermined so that there's enough sun, and actually, like the research that I was reading shows that the shading actually helps the plants from being in the direct sun all day, so proper placement can make it be just fine.
You know, if you'd like, we're more than happy to share a wealth of resources if you have spare reading.
Don't ask for
I mean,
it.
I'm one of those people who never have more than 2 or 3 tabs typically open. I've got like 20 and it's driving me crazy. I want to read things because it's very interesting to see what's being done, not just here, but elsewhere.
All right, thank you so much for all of
Anytime.
that.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I think the answer, the takeaway is move
Keep
ahead,
moving.
keep
Keep
moving,
moving.
get it done.
Okay.
All right, miscellaneous business, wonderful opening of our groundbreaking for farms. Thank you for the cookie there. There's plenty to read about it. Working over there. Board meeting coming up tomorrow. I've sent messages to the folks that haven't done a board meeting yet. So keep at it, because the response from the community when I advertised these two was like, when's the horse? When's the horse? Right? And that's always really good. And I want to thank the staff for being a part of that. It makes a huge difference when they're there to answer questions. And it really helps. So
We like it. So, but
I'm gonna go this way. I know. Okay, fine.
For the ordinance.
not a lot.
I-
Murphy.
I want to thank you in advance, the city staff that's going to show up tomorrow. And we hope we have a good discussion. I'll make sure it's respectful. So, I'm looking forward to tomorrow.
Even if it's not, we'll be back.
No, but it will.
Today's discussion on 2 issues is very inspirational for me. And I see the future of Moline and people glad to come to Moline.
Nothing, Your Honor.
Steph.
Nothing.
Wow.
You're right.
Great session.
Right.
Done. I have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Tim, seconded by Murphy. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, we're adjourned.
Thank you all.
everyone.